Which one was that? I just did one, you know.
My name is Guldalian.
So yours was? Yeah.
And the owner and
I wonder they
operator
go
of
with that.
Engin Cycles right here in Philadelphia. I am going to be the moderator on this wonderful panel of people trying to. The title of this is Steve Blinky and I really went back and forth on this and sort of struggled on how to describe it. I didn't want to use the word trend. He fired it off into the world, so it's now part of this discussion. But I don't think that it's trend is the appropriate word. I think that just like the market in general and yeah, I'm telling you, I really struggled with how to present this. So the bicycle will forever be a moving target. It's something that changes, whether good or bad. It's going to keep changing. And you know, what I think is that people have to sort of take a position of, this is the bicycle that I make. I really like it, and I still have people that are calling me and ordering it, so I'm going to keep making it. Or do you look at the bicycle as a technological thing that can continue to advance, and are you always trying to advance it, and are you trying to advance it because you think that you found something that's better, or are you trying to advance it because this guy over here is doing something that you, oh, I have to do that, so I better do it, and then I better try and do it a little better. So it's sort of like this line in the sand, and the line of sand is, am I going to make a bike that, my bike has cantilevers and fenders and a quill stem, and people will keep buying it, so I'm done. Or am I going to make a bike that has the latest and greatest? And is it the latest and greatest because you genuinely think that that is what should be on the bike, or are you just doing it because you think it's going to sell? It's not an easy discussion because it's hard to define, you know, your place in the market. And once you have defined your place in the market, are you willing to allow it to change, or you just kind of keep trying to keep that path? So with that, I was going to have each one of these guys introduce themselves and kind of, if they can, say their stance on what it is that they do and with their brand and how they feel about where the market is and whether they like change or hate change or embrace it, deal with it.
I'm Peter Olivetti. I'm owner and builder for Olivetti Bicycles. Yeah, it's a tricky question for sure. I think the first thing that Drew said is if you make a bike and people keep buying it from you, right? If you make the same bike over and over again and people stop buying it, and you don't have work anymore. So for me, my take is really about I'm a working fabricator, right? So I need to pay a mortgage, get my kid through school, I need to put food on the table. So there's certain trends that I do like, there's certain trends I don't like. If I could make one bike over and over again and people bought it for enough money, I would probably do that. It's less for me about the trend or possibility, more about what's a viable business as a small business person. Because at the end of the day, you have to decide whether you're in a hobby or in a business. So my brief summary is that I will probably follow what people pay me to do or keep buying. And I try to do things that are unique and have a unique style. So I hope that I can get away with creating my style. And probably of the builders here, I'm probably one of the younger, maybe not in age, but probably the lowest bike count. So you know, there's certain things that I'm still trying to, you know, I'm still influenced by other people's builds. So I like to try to see if I can do what somebody does. If I can incorporate that, that's great. For me, at the end of the day, it's kind of a business, so you gotta be able to follow the business and make that business work. So if somebody wants like some crazy, weird spaced back end, and I can make it, and it doesn't cost me too much to make it, then I think I'll give it a shot. My brief summary.
The vanities know.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm Joe Breeze with Breezer Bicycles. Started building frames back in Marin County, out west, north of San Francisco, back in 1974. Road racing frames, custom built, and then built some of the first mountain bikes, my Breezers. Shortly after that, and I was glad to hear Drew bring up the words or say that bicycle design is a moving target, and what I love about bicycles is their mechanical efficiency, and it's really, I really like the discipline of bicycle design, because a bicycle is the most efficient mode of transport ever designed, and it's different than being a clothing designer in that way, in that you can even improve on it and make it the most efficient of anything. And so that's the direction I hope to go in, is to not just to come up with new ideas to make a bicycle better, or borrow from all the great ideas I've seen out there, synthesize those into one, distill it to make my version of that most efficient bicycle. And by golly, the history of cycling design is kind of a lost history. But I think most of you in the audience here, you have some inkling of how much was done back when a bicycle was the freedom machines, back in the 19th century, and especially the 1890s, when, you know, that golden age of cycling. We probably all know that golden age of cycling, and what all the bright people who were focused on perfecting this machine at the time, and that's that part of cycling that I love, and coming up with synthesizing the things that I see from all around. I don't come up with new ideas necessarily. I come up with, I hone my skills in recognizing good ideas that people have done from way back, and even right here at the table, you're at good ideas, and try to incorporate that into my Breezer brand. And it's been maybe a challenge over the years. The brand is only so big, we only have so much horsepower, but that still has been that driving goal, is to have that most efficient frame design or bicycle.
And with that being said, I'm going to go to Bryan. I'm not cutting you off, but
No,
to emphasize that Joe's saying that, you know, there are not too many new ideas for everybody's point of interest.
No. That's not what I was saying. No, in fact, a bicycle, okay, can I just say this right now and just get it off my chest? Okay, so I always hear that, hey, a bicycle, you know, the diamond frame, 2 equal wheel size deal, is what a bicycle is going to look like, because by golly, it's looked like that for 120 years. My take on that is no. Okay, back then when there was that golden age and that was that freedom machine, bicycles, wow, it's amazing what had happened from 1860s to that point. And the reason that 120 years later from that golden age, a bicycle doesn't look a whole lot different is not because those guys didn't reach perfection. It's because at that point in time, that brain trust shifted their attentions to the automobile and the aeroplane and other ways to get around, and bicycles was no longer that freedom machine. And we're racing it absolutely improved the breed right up to that point. From that point onward, racing would be about the athlete much more than the technology, because the rule book would say, hey, the relationship of the saddle to the handlebars to the cranks had to fall within these very narrow parameters, or it was not legal to race on. And so, of course, the manufacturers build won the race yesterday for tomorrow. It's easy marketing. And that's why a bicycle looks so similar. And it could be that for two things, today we're coming into a second golden age of cycling, while people are recognizing that cycles are great not just for recreation, but for getting around, for transportation, getting where we need to go because of their remarkable efficiency. And it could be, and also that the second part is that the UCI has recently hinted that they're once again interested in giving back to humanity a better bicycle developed from racing. And so 20 years from now, we could come back to that diamond framed, equal wheel bike and go, God, that's what a bike used to look like? So that's my take on it. The bicycle is that moving target and will become even more so as we go into the second golden age of cycling. So embrace it.
I just want everyone to get this book. It's called The Data Book.
Oh,
It's an illustrated book. It's a Japanese illustration book. And essentially what it is, it's all the patents that have taken place over the time since the safety bike and before that has been created. And what you will realize and what you will witness is that there are a few new ideas. You know, there's plenty of advancements and there's plenty of different interpretations of how something can be done, but you will truly be amazed when you see patents from 18-something for a disc brake and 18-something for a wishbone YBB. And as he was saying, there was a point when it was just a never-ending battle to who could come up with the next best idea. And that did kind of die down, but the harsh reality is a lot of the stuff now is just a rebirth of ideas that had already existed.
And then we're starting to see some of those new things, and maybe it's a little bit off our radar, and you have things. How many of you that saw, maybe not in Eurobike, but saw after Eurobike, the ceramic speed drive, a shaft-driven product, okay, right? And we're, as a curator of our Marin Museum of Bicycling out in Fairfax, I get a lot of cyclists coming in, and well, I heard about that right after it happened, and I didn't know about it. I wasn't there at Eurobike this year, and it's a product that is a shaft-driven bike, but they claim 99% efficiency. Okay, I hadn't seen that back in 1890s patents, so there's some new stuff coming in.
There is a shaft drive in the bike though. Not 99%.
Different category.
Opposite.
Yeah.
So, next one, Brian, go ahead.
Okay, hi, I'm Bryan Hollingsworth. I do Royal H bikes. And my take on this question has kind of almost pulled my company into two companies. Whereas on the one hand, I actually am super interested in new trends, disc brake standards and tapered headsets and introduction of more and more carbon parts onto a steel bike. I find that to be really fascinating, to try to use traditional frame building techniques, torch-driven techniques to fold all this stuff into it. But the trend in New England anyway was towards bikes that were really reminiscent of bikes from the 1940s. A lot of the bikes I've worked on this year have been randonneuring bikes with 650D wheels, center pull brakes, frame pumps, you know, stuff that, and describing your bike, so things that really kind of are influenced by the classic, you know, another golden age. I don't know if that's after what you were describing, but the 1940s randonneuring cyclotourist era. So for me, I've actually created a different brand of bikes. The Hollingsworth brand of bikes is to build more specifically to that burgeoning market in New England, which allows me to build very classic, you know, like the kind of bike that you described. It has canty brakes, a quill stem. It's to me very beautiful, definitely functional. And then Royal H, I can kind of pursue more of the high tech. You know, I have an ETAP bike, and to me, that's like, it's just stimulating to work with stuff that no one's seen before, or the newest thing. You know, do I think any of the stuff that I've built has been bad? I don't know. You said bike industry is good and bad. I haven't seen any of the bad stuff.
Oh, there's been some bad stuff. Shimano had these shifters that were brake levers. And, on a mountain bike, they were terrible. Trust me.
So I guess I haven't built anything that I'm like, wow, this is garbage. And so for me, as long as it fulfills the that efficiency you were talking about, as long as it gets you where you're going without breaking down or being unsafe, I'm super interested in anything new. And that's kind of where I'm taking Royal H, and then the Hollingsworth brand allows me to really dig into the more artistic kind of traditional stuff. So I think that addressing that question for my business is almost split into two.
Mm-hmm.
But so far I'm selling pretty much equal parts of both, and it's allowed me to get more market share while still building bikes. So I'm kind of happy with trends going off in the wild direction, and the popularity of more traditional bikes.
Next is Alec White.
Alec White, second generation at White Industries. We manufacture bicycle components, hubs, cranks, chain rings, all like bits and pieces that you kind of put on your bike and makes it go around. I guess our take, or my take, on this kind of topic would be we're stuck in a situation where we don't really have very much control. From a manufacturing perspective, we could make whatever we wanted, but we're very constrained to what the frame manufacturers are producing as far as hub width sizes, disc brake, rotor locations, those kinds of things. There's a lot of constraints. Wheel sizes can dictate a lot of the hub widths, and we're a little, so we kind of play catch up to everything. And what that forces us to do, and it's not a bad thing, but we're constantly having to like make little changes and revisions and add this axle in because now we're 135 is, well, that's dead, but 142 is and those kinds of things. And I think it's not a negative thing in a larger picture kind of concept. I think when you look at good transitions and good changes and going in a direction that improves the life of the consumer, or if it can line up where it improves our life as like a manufacturing, as a business, because it allows us to sell more product, and it improves the life of the bicycle manufacturer and the consumers' lives who are buying these bikes, then I think we're going in the right direction. But there's times where we come across things that aren't going in the best interest of necessarily the consumer, or maybe us particularly, and those are when you have to make the decision of like, what side are you on? Are you gonna jump on this thing and make it because you know you're gonna sell 100 of them? Or you can not do that because you don't wanna see that, because you feel like it's the wrong direction. And it's a tough decision, because sometimes from a business standpoint, it's gonna, well, we could sell 100 of these, but then there's
more than that.
well, yeah, you don't know. You don't know. Maybe I'm going to sell 100. Maybe I'll sell 1,000. And I think that it's hard for industry, any industry. Where we want compatibility because that's good for the end consumer. But it's hard because not everyone wants to talk to each other, and we end up just having to follow. And there's been instances where we have drawn a line and said, no, we're not going to make that. And like a good example of that is SCS, which was a short chainstay system that Specialized came up with. Not to like totally throw them under the bus, but they would agree that it was a mistake.
Nope.
And they've said it, and because it was. And we wanted to do it to help their customers, but we had to draw the line where it doesn't make sense for us to support a system and to support decision making that doesn't benefit the end consumer, to have super proprietary wheels and hubs that once the bike is a year old, if your hub fails or you have an issue, the bike is no good anymore. And those kinds of decisions are really bad for us as a component manufacturer. I feel like it's a bad decision for the frame manufacturer, because then they're stuck with this customer that's upset with them. But more importantly, it's confusing and difficult for the consumer, which means they're less confident in buying bicycles. They're less confident in promoting cycling as like a thing to do and a passion, because it's confusing and hard and expensive, and you're constantly having to like keep up with stuff. So when the line that I see is those kinds of things. Dropper posts, those are great. They're amazing. They don't need to be on every mountain bike. Sorry, Drew. but they're worth it for the people that do want them on their mountain biking, and they can make mountain biking more fun. And I'm all for that. And so advancing technology in the right direction, I think, is totally worth it. If we can improve the efficiency of a bicycle, let's do that. But let's not do it at the expense of the industry and the expense of the consumer, right? Because that's not working. So that's my take.
My name is Joe Roggenbuck. So I have Cobra Frames. I'm in Syracuse, New York, and so I've been a frame builder for a number of years, and then lately I've shifted a little bit more toward making tooling, and I think I might explore making actually components also. Possibly stuff a little bit like Alec makes, and possibly stuff a little bit like Mark's company makes. We'll see where things go, but right now it's mainly focusing on tooling for the people who make custom bicycles. And so that, whenever you're in the market, it's kind of interesting because there are market forces that sort of suggest better and worse decisions for you and your bottom line, and that might not be exactly what you want to do or what you think is the best, but if it makes you money, that's an influence. And so, when we have ideas about what seems like the best idea, like maybe there's a new standard and it seems like a good idea, but are enough people going to jump on it that we can get the scale we need to then create a product that we can support down the road or something. For me, if there's a new standard for bottom brackets or whatever it is that becomes something that people will actually want to build with, and there become a lot of parts for it, then the small scale custom builder needs a tool that can provide them the ability to build this stuff. A lot of builders don't have the capacity to machine their own tools, or not everything. And so if I can fill that sort of need for people, then sometimes it might benefit me that there are these new standards, whether or not I like them, whether or not I think they're necessary. It might help me in my sort of business trajectory that there are new things that people have to adapt to all the time. So it's kind of interesting because you can see that and realize it for what it is without necessarily agreeing with it or disagreeing with it, but it's a consideration. I think the same thing for, if you're a small builder, or I think a lot of these things are driven by, the Treks and Giants and Specialized, where at scale, if they made the same bike every year, and things didn't change a little bit, would they continue to sell the same volume every year? Or some is this driven by, the need to sell new product every year and change things a little bit, or is it purely for improving the product so that it becomes better? And then, when SRAM and Shimano make a new flat mount brake, the small builder is left with the reality that, the brake standards have changed, and if you want to put those parts on your bike, you have to adapt. You don't have a choice, unless you're going to source, old group sets and things. So, for me, it's an interesting position because, if I can sell people stuff that helps them with their own business to create the bikes that they want to make for their customers, then I'm in support of making their lives easier. But it's like I'm like a step removed now from whether or not it was a good idea to change the standard in the first place. And so, for me, it can be a good thing that stuff changes from time to time, because it gives me an opportunity to, and I love the creative problem solving. How are we gonna machine these parts and get them ready for welding, and how are we gonna hold them while we're welding them? And I have to think creatively about what is a tool that's gonna work not just for one person's process, but for a handful of people who have different, designs and methods. And there are things about it that are great for me or that I like, but I realize that, how does it affect actually the consumer? Is it better for them? Is it better for the industry as a whole? And I can totally understand your situation where if you create a hub for a new standard and you want to support that for your customers, and now you're not selling any of them, and it's expensive to stock stuff and keep stock. And, so how do you do that? It's a sort of a tough question. And in the time when I was making bikes, I had my own opinions about how I wanted to, what makes you fall in love with a bike? Is it actually the fancy group set, or is it the feeling that you get from riding that's more elemental than that? And for me, I just kind of wanted to build stuff that was more simple, but I don't know.
I think you hit on the double-edged sword aspect of it, because on the one hand, the challenge for the builder of a new flatbed standard in terms of tooling up and getting ready to incorporate that into your design is costly and time-consuming. But I've had a lot of customers where they want a new bike for that part. So the part is what's driving them to me to get a custom bike to put it on. So the customer is brought to me by the new thing, like I want to have P-TAP, I want to have a flat mount road bike, which is exciting, got that in my door, but now I have the problem when I have to build it. So it does cut both ways, and I think that's the balance of being a frame builder in an evolving industry.
Yeah.
But I've definitely had customers that